Hi everyone, Stepan here with another game. I'm gonna try to do the same thing and try to play the Catalan, if I can. So I'm gonna start with knight f3, then go g3, try to play the Pseudo-Catalan. Usually c6, bishop f5 is what black should do. This is what I do with black. You play the reverse London against this. We will see what happens. My opponent is rated 2183, so a bit lower rated. Last game went pretty well. Okay, e6 I feel is suboptimal. I feel like you should develop this bishop. Although my opponent hasn't played c6 yet, so he could go for c5 and try to break my center before I get to do something. Okay, I'm gonna castle. Now, if c5, I will consider c3. And if I go c4 and he goes c5, that could get interesting. I'm pretty sure that would resemble a Tarrasch of some sort. I'm not sure bishop d6 is the most active square for the bishop, because it's staring at all of these pawns. When I have black here, I have a bishop on f5 and my dark squared bishop is on e7. Okay, so he does want to go c5. He wants to go c5. So if I go c4 and he takes it, I don't think I get the pawn back that easily. If I go b3 and he plays c5, I don't know what to do. If I go rook e1 and he goes c5, I can go c3. I'm gonna try to play against the bishop, so the bishop is probably gonna end up on a6. Although I could fight for the e5 square by playing b3, bishop b2. So c4 takes. I don't know, I'm out of book. I'm out of prep. I don't know this setup. He wants to go e5. That much is clear to me. But for the moment, the d5 pawn hangs, so that's not possible. If he goes knight e4 and f5, that could be annoying. So I'm gonna try knight d2. I'm gonna delay the development of a dark squared bishop and just play against knight e4. And if e5, I can take, knight f3, or yeah, knight f3 probably, and then e4. Now I could also go c4 here. If he goes c5, I take on d5, or take on c5, take on d5 with an IQP position. If he goes e5, I do the same thing. I take. If he takes on c4, I take with the knight. Where does the bishop go? The bishop goes to e7, then I have knight e5. Okay, I'm going c4. This way I'm not risking my pawn. I don't have to think about regaining that pawn and then breaking the center and opening up the diagonal. If he goes c6, I believe I can play a double fianchetto. That's actually what I've been trying to do in these games, yeah. Now, he still wants to go e5. But this would still give him an IQP. So on b3, bishop b2, am I preventing e5? If he goes b6, he's on this diagonal with bishop a6, but I don't think that's a big deal. So let's say b3, rook e8, bishop b2, e5, cd5, cd5, or maybe cd5, e4, huh? No, but cd5, e4, dc6, ef3, cd7, fg2. Yeah, but I can take on d5 later. He could take with the knight. Let's go b3. I like b3. I'm gonna develop my bishop to b2 and try to strengthen the e5 square. If he doesn't go rook e8 now, well, actually I can just exchange everything and then take on d5. Because my bishop is on d5. We will see. Sorry, I need to turn off my phone. I keep getting messages. Okay. Excuse me. Lucia just gave me a piece of very good news. So I'm really happy. I don't want to say what it is, but something good just happened. Okay. Okay, back to the game. Should I go a3? a3 preventing a4 seems okay. Bishop b2, a4 takes. I'm not a big fan of that. Bishop b2. Oh, I could also consider going c5 here. So c5, bishop c7, bishop b2. Am I really that afraid of a4, a3? That I should be provoked to go a3 myself. So bishop b2, a4. Now I don't want to take that because of queen a5. So if I go a3 and he goes a4, I go b4, he takes on c4, I go knight c4, that's fine. If I go bishop b2 and he goes a4 and I go c5, and he goes bishop c7 and I go b4, then he goes e5. Okay, so I'm playing a3. I don't want to allow a4. I want to keep this pawn weak. And on a4 I want to go b4. Maybe this was unnecessary. Maybe I should have gone bishop b2. But this way, I am playing against his bishop. The bishop on c8. And I'm preventing any queenside expansions. He has to go e5 at some point. He has to do it. Or c5. And I want to go bishop b2, queen c2, rook ad1, rook fe1, e4. That's my plan. This is, I mean, I've played the anti-Meran a lot. And when my queen gets to c2, when my bishop gets to b2, this Catalan is basically an anti-Meran with the bishop on g2 instead of d3. Okay, wants to play e5. So now bishop b2, e5 takes, knight takes, knight takes, bishop takes, rook takes, cd. Okay, I'm going bishop b2, that's the most natural move. On e5 I have to take, or I take on d5. I can probably do both. I don't have to take the knight though. I can take once, knight takes, pawn takes. Then he probably plays knight takes. But then I have e4. And if he plays pawn takes, he has a knight up. And my bishops are really strong. Still, e5 I feel is forced, because if he doesn't play e5 here, I go knight e5. And if I go knight e5, he's never He's never moving the c8 bishop. Unless he has c5 d4. Maybe he has c5 d4. So let's say he doesn't play e5. Let's say h6. Knight e5. c5. I don't know. I like my bishops though. I mean, if you look at the two positions, my bishop on g2 is a monster, his bishop on c8 is just awful. It's an awful bishop. So everything else being equal, let's assume that the d6 and the b2 bishop are about the same, which I doubt, because his bishop is blunted by my g3 pawn and he has to play e5, therefore my b2 bishop is excellent. Everything else being equal, I should have an advantage here. I'm not convinced by these setups where they leave the bishop on c8, because this isn't a normal closed Catalan. I'm delaying c4, so they should use that to go c6 and bishop f5. Why go e6 first? Pretty strange, but okay. Again, I have no experience in these setups, especially not for black, because I always get my bishop out. So if you know this for black, please let me know what sort of compensation black has for that bishop, because I don't see it. I feel like my double fianchetto is just too strong. I'm actually enjoying this a lot. And looking at this position, if somebody else had been playing the London or d4 c4, I would ask them, why didn't you play this instead? This is simpler, especially the London. This keeps a lot of tension. Nothing has been traded off. You have central control, you have excellent pieces, no problem pieces, a good square for the queen on c2, very natural squares for the rooks on d1 e1 or c1 d1 or c1 e1. You have the e4 pawn break, you have the e5 outpost. Okay. Now when I go knight e5, and he goes bishop b7 to defend c6, what happens when I play rook c1, threatening to take on c6? I'm just going knight e5 immediately. And then I'm going rook c1. Unless he wishes to give up the dark squared bishop, which cannot be good. Of course, taking with the knight loses a piece. This makes rook e8 a bad move, because the rook is useless now. I think he had to go e5. He had to go e5. Now dc is not possible. And after rook c1, he will have to go queen c7. I believe, because I'm just threatening to take. So rook c1, queen c7. Do I go f4? I could go f4. Okay. Rook c1, queen c7 is forced, or rook c8. And then, if rook c8, I don't have to defend e5. If queen c7, I have to defend e5. Then I go f4. He can never take, because c6 is hanging. And it's hanging with tempo. First on the queen and then on the rook. Oh, why not queen c7? Does he just plan to give up the bishop pair? So cd is forced, knight c6, bishop c6, rook c6. But if I do that, he has e5. He's also on the a3 pawn, which makes me slightly uncomfortable. I don't really want to go a4. How else do I defend my pawn? I don't really want to go knight b1 either. That seems ugly. But maybe I have to go a4. I don't think I can afford to lose the a3 pawn. Okay, I'm gonna go a4 because I don't want to give up a pawn, and I'm still holding e5. c5 I don't think works because I can always take on d7 first and then take on c5. If he takes on c4, I'm playing knight c4. Maybe I should have taken cd first before a4. Maybe I should have forced opened the c file. I'm enjoying these setups a lot, and I feel like I'm learning a lot. This is a completely new experience for me, like playing a new game. I never have these structures with either color, or I never used to have. I still feel he should have played queen c7, although it does seem risky. Yeah, I'm sorry about my computer fans if you can hear them. I don't have a lot to do about that. My laptop just isn't strong enough to withstand playing and recording without making noise. Okay. So now CD seems okay. I'm assuming he takes CD. Then I get the b5 square. Although I could also go e4. So e4. Let's say he takes. e4 knight, e4 pawn takes, knight takes, knight takes, bishop takes. Do I take on d5 before playing e4? So cd, cd, e4. Then I don't have enough pieces covering. But I need to do something about my dark squared bishop. Also, if I take on c4 with the rook, I'm gonna lose the exchange because of bishop a6. So I'm gonna play a prophylactic move and just go rook e1 first, supporting e4 and getting away from this. Again, I don't mind him taking on c4. Okay, I'm just gonna secure my knight for now. His d pawn cannot move. If his c pawn moves, he's just allowing me to play ed. Now my rook is lined up with the queen, so there could be some tricks with this diagonal and with this e-file. What am I doing? And with this e-file. He actually saved me time. I didn't have to go e4 because he traded c for e. My rook is now active. He cannot go knight e4. He cannot go dc. He shouldn't go knight e5 because it loses a piece. He shouldn't go bishop e5 because it loses the bishop pair and probably the pawn on d5. His bishop is loose on b7. My rook is lined up with his queen. Okay. So he wants to go knight e5, I'm guessing, without losing a piece. Extremely tempted to go f4, although I can also consider just rook e2, but then he has bishop a6. Rook e2 seems okay. I just want to get out of the pin. If he takes on e5, I still take with the pawn. I don't take with the rook, so I'm not wasting time. Because I can always use this rook to go to c2. Okay, I take with the pawn, the knight goes to d7. Oh, he has the c5 square. So I'm looking at bishop c5. I'm also looking at knight f3 to strengthen d4. I'm looking at bishop d4 and knight f3. If I take on d5, he has to take with the bishop, I think. Because if he takes with the pawn, then I can just go bishop d4 followed by knight f3. So let's say cd. Rook c1, queen c1, rook c8, queen d1, bishop d, ed. That feels correct. He should take on c1, I think. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get the c4 square if he takes with the bishop, because I don't have to take there. I can just go knight c4. And then if I manage to trade off the dark squared bishops, I get the d6 square. Okay, now do I play knight c4? Knight c4, knight c4, bishop c4, rook c4 seems okay. Yeah, I like knight c4. Because now if he takes on g2, I have a strategic goal to trade off dark squared bishops and get the d6 square. And I can also double up my pieces on the d file if I manage to get that trade. So I'm looking at a move like bishop d4 here, where if he plays bishop c5, I can take. He goes knight c5, I go knight d6. This seems like an awful idea. He wants to go rook d8. He wants to go rook d8. But I can just take, I feel, on b6. So knight b6. Rook d8. Let's say I go queen c2. I don't see why not. Oh, he has queen b7. Idiot. You idiot. You idiot. He has queen b7. Idiot. I'm resigning. Ah. No. No, 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 no. Okay. Good game to my opponent. Okay. Why do I do this without checking? I had a lot of time on the clock. Let's have a look at the game. So the first thing I'm interested in is this, whether this is good. Okay, as I said, bishop e7 is... It makes more sense because you're not staring at g3. Okay, c4 is more common, but I'm guessing we're gonna transpose. Yeah, okay, b3 is okay. And I wonder about a3 here. The engine thinks a3 is okay. Bishop b2 is okay. It's all fine. Okay. Bishop b2 here. Knight e5 is okay. Bishop b7. Rook c1 is okay. Queen e7. e4 worked. a4 is bad. Okay, e4. So I'm not worried about giving away my pawn. So e4. What if he takes... Okay, let's say he takes on e4 first. Let's say he takes on e4 first. So knight d7, knight d7, knight e4, bishop a3, bishop a3, queen a3, c5. The queen is awkwardly placed, but I don't see how to chase it away from, let's say, b4. Okay. He should have gone cd5. Okay, cd5, ed5. Ooh, this is nice. I didn't see this. I was aware that this bishop is hanging, but I didn't see this trick. Okay, e3 is apparently my biggest mistake so far. Just idiot. Idiot. Okay, so rook e2, rook e2. Yeah. Okay, I mean it was equal. I'd assumed I was better. I was gonna fight for this square. I'm not sure I would have played rook e4. I think I would have considered something like this. Okay, so let's go queen b7, king g1. Rook d8. Okay, yeah, maybe I wouldn't have played bishop d4 because my queen is hanging. So let's say something normal, like, okay, yeah, queen d3 makes sense for queen f3 and queen e4. So if rook d8, I just move away. Now I'm threatening knight b6. And now I want to go bishop c3 or bishop d4. Okay, rook b8. Can I go bishop d4 now? b5. No. Can I go bishop c3? Still b5. Let's say bishop b4, bc4, bishop e7, cd3. Yeah, it should be equal. Yeah, I blundering that piece is just bad, but I didn't spend enough time. I was too focused on actual weaknesses that I just blundered the piece. Hopefully, I mean, I don't do that in actual over-the-board games. I have a checklist. But yeah, I shouldn't be doing this in training games either. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more chess. Bye-bye.